Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look, of course, once more at Solana, helping understand the next steps and what might happen next based on Fibonacci retracement, traditional markets, Bitcoin analysis, and the whole 9 yards, right? We're kind of going to cover a lot of little stuff that all adds up and essentially just see where we're at. So if you are new to the channel, just keep this in mind. I like to preface this so you understand I'm not a financial advisor by any stretch. I've just been teaching and trading for 17 years. So I can tell you it's been a great experience. I have an amazing community. You can register for that. CryptoCache.tech is a link down below where I just basically help you become better traders. I got a trading academy, community, and signal group. Here's the signals if we have some recently, or if you can kind of see, just recently we took some profits like this. I was sleeping through this and got 42% profit from Ethereum, 50% profit from BNB, and then look at this previously a nice, 83% in 15 days. So again, you gotta keep in mind, sometimes you gotta be patient for these signals to come through. Okay, it doesn't always happen overnight. You don't get rich quick. That's not what cryptocurrency is. You've heard about it. It can happen, but it's very unlikely. It's best to control what you can. One last thing here, Solana, 195%, 3 days. That's one of my favorite trades. Obviously, it's easy to make it a favorite if you're almost 200% up, right? Either way, we're doing all this on the best exchange possible with Bitget. Please make sure you use the link in the description below so you can benefit from a monthly prize pool of $10,000. Not only is it the best exchange in the country and the world, but it's also easy to make some extra profits. Profit and loss ratio, trading volume. I even have 4 tiers where you just get $1,000 per person that qualifies based on trading volume as well, just total trading volume. Has to be over 3 million, I think it is, but it's pretty easy to qualify if you're just an average trader. Either way, very last thing to note, I got you covered as well with 3 months extra free if you're with a 12-month plan. If you decide you want to register for ExpressVPN, I use them consistently. If you're going to use any type of leverage trading, you have to use a virtual private network if you're in a restricted state. So just keep that in mind and just note that that is relevant when registering and or utilizing any service, specifically Bitget as well, just based on the fact that US has a lot of regulations. Okay, so here's the thing with Solana. As we've covered already, you may have already seen this if you watched a return viewer, thank you of course. We got this breakout of course that occurred when we broke through that trending line downwards. Okay, the descending trend, basically the 20-day simple moving average on the daily, usually provides that kind of response. So we're going to take a look at the daily here and kind of see what's going on. So first of all, we're still in good shape overall, right? So as I mentioned before, third day is potential for green, whereas the fourth day could be red. You got to keep in mind this is fairly overextended, so sometimes a third green day isn't always going to happen. Today very well could be the pullback, because again we had a lot of volume accumulation for 3 days here, and then it ramped up for 2. So hypothetically we may not see 3 white soldiers, but if we do, just say today's a strong green day, expect tomorrow to be red. That's just kind of the bottom line. It's very high probability that would happen. Either way, we're not there yet, but we do have somewhat of a gravestone doji candle. It's a little too early to tell. We got 5 more hours left in today's trading, but generally speaking, that's not great. Okay, generally speaking, that implies we're going to probably see a pullback, and this resistance here at 0.786, $13.50 is a round number, is potentially a strong resistance. Okay, so again, just something to kind of recognize and remember. If we look at traditional markets, let's go ahead and touch on this here because I think it's relevant to understand that dollar index is down. Okay. We also have FOMC minutes coming out today. I think they just came out a moment ago. Didn't do anything crazy, but it's holding its price pretty steady. Okay, so with Bitcoin kind of maintaining its current price point, we're looking pretty decent here in the overall sense of things. It is getting rejected by 16,900, but once more, that's been a consistent resistance level. We can close above that for Bitcoin. We're looking pretty bullish for the rest of the market. Keep in mind too, Bitcoin dominance is down. This also breeds altcoin increase, right? Whereas Solana, yes, it isn't really doing much at all. It's pretty much break even on its open. It's still doing well, all things considered, how overextended it is going into that, okay? Keep in mind, again, a lot of little things to factor in. You always want to try to look at the overall sense of things. Try not to put your blinders on and get stuck on a specific time frame. Evaluate everything. Daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, probably the most important time frames I've used in my time, and I can experience that, in that experience I can say confidently that those are the 3 best time frames to utilize for swing trading or short-term swing trading. That's more so my style. I used to day trade a lot, don't get me wrong, but I don't really like the white hairs. And again, I get white hairs with red hair. You might gray, but I white. And in that sense, I don't like that. It's just too stressful for me personally. It's not for everyone, obviously, but for the right folks, I can tell you that find the trading technique and style that works well for your personality. I'm more of a easy, relaxed easygoing guy, right? So why not take 40% from Ethereum when I'm sleeping? That's awesome. I don't want to have to sit here all day and look at a chart, right? Again, that's why those timeframes work well for me. Obviously, if you're a day trader, you can use smaller time frames and benefit from that. And I will peek at the 15 and the 1 minute, don't get me wrong, when I'm looking for a good entry, but generally speaking, you can survive very well on the 3 time frames I focus on. And touching on the 4-hour time frame, just to note here, if we do not hold 70 in the RSI here, which is likely, it will probably happen, or because actually we want it to happen, not necessarily well probably, but as you can kind of see, I mean, you see history, look at that, comes down, it can only maintain that price point for about a 36-hour period. That's about 36 hours there. We're really close to that right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if the price continues lower, and we see 12.3 retested. Okay, so again, I think I had an alert there I accidentally removed. I'll go ahead and add that at about 1240, right in that range. So I get notified to kind of reevaluate when the price comes down that low. Okay, so again, with RSI being overextended, that's not a bad thing. It just tells us we should experience a temporary pullback. Same thing here as well. We got the MACD diverging. We're starting to lose that momentum. Doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to shoot hard to the downside. It just implies it's going to potentially pull back. Right? We want a potential pullback. And the reason why is because we're overextended. Take a look at this here. We should have pulled back here at Fibonacci retracement level 12.3. We didn't. We continued higher. This is greed zone right here. This is all greed. So the greed getting increased, the likelihood of a pullback makes sense. In fact, we probably are looking at about another 7 4-hour candlesticks, maybe 28 hours before the price action finishes its downtrend. Okay, so I'm speculating another 24 hours of downside. That's just kind of what it looks like, what it feels like, especially considering how Bitcoin is essentially doing well right now, and Solana is struggling a little bit, right? And the reason why it's struggling isn't because it's a bad coin or anything in that sense. It's because it has hit its max load capacity for a short amount of time. Right? We got to look at this. You got to recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're pretty much at a second 9 on TD sequential if we had got a reset, right? That implies we've been 72 hours of bullish. How many hours at 72? That is 3 days. Coincidentally, 3 days puts us at 3 white soldiers, right? So the charts may not identify that, but TD sequential is telling us we've got 3 days of straight bullish. It makes perfect sense to pull back. So I'm not telling you to necessarily short, but I am specifying that a long position closer to 1230 would make sense. That's why I got the alert set there. Going to reevaluate. Hopefully we're at a 9 to the downside and we get that nice little bounce and the price just comes up and does what it's supposed to do. That's what trading is all about, is finding those kind of patterns and identifying key level supports and resistances. And we can see right now we're overextended. All right, I can't drive that home enough. We're good to go there. Let's touch on the hourly, kind of see what's going on. Really quick, just to peek, we hit a 7, sideways up to a 9. That wasn't a tremendous push. A little retrace. Hit up to a 6, another reset to a 7, another 7. So in all reality, this is a fairly healthy continuation. And what I mean by healthy is it's this up over scenario, right? You keep seeing these up overs and it's looking pretty darn good. But when you have, more than one flag in a row, the consistency is good, but it also spells reversal. Okay? Again, I'm not saying this is going to drop like a rock, but please recognize that to be able to maintain the price point that it is, it's going to take a lot of consolidation at this level of 1350 first, or a retracement for a bounce. One of two things will happen. And in that regard, I'd much rather bounce and buy in the next dip, right? 1240 long up to 1350 with 2 or 3 profit targets right in between. That's effectively what we're looking for. Okay, so as a community, if you guys are in a Solana long right now, the Ichimoku cloud is going to be telling us here, we want to consider trimming our position. So take some profits if you haven't already, okay? Close 70-80% of your trade, right? And then once again, we've lost this momentum intersecting here right there with the conversion line, the baseline. And one thing we have is a saving grace, is this potential cloud here, and that could very well not hold. So we got 2 out of 3 reasons to consider trimming, and of course one main reason to either buy the next dip and or continue to hold above the cloud. So again, it's going to be perfectly fine if the price comes down here and does this, because we're still within the cloud, right? That's the beautiful thing about the cloud. It kind of helps us understand that with moving averages, we are in pretty good shape. So again, looking fantastic there in that sense. So the overall sentiment here is bullish, right? You got to recognize that. But the immediate future, we should conceptualize the fact that it's probably going to decrease in value before it increases again. Again, that's what we want it to happen. Is it going to do what we want? No, not necessarily. But if history repeats itself, which it oftentimes does, we're 3 days into this continuation, regardless of the fact we only have 2 major candlesticks here. And I think today will likely be a red day. Okay, I mean, obviously it's starting off that way, but we have this gravestone type of pattern. We've got a lot of other overextensions. Just makes sense for the price to pull back. So please take your profits if you haven't already. Otherwise, let the rest ride. Our trade is already fully complete. We hit all 5 profit targets from, I think, 10 up to 1250, and we're just kind of waiting on the sidelines for another good entry. Yeah. Again, patience is key. Watch the final chapter of my Trading Academy videos if you're currently a member, and make sure that you familiarize yourself with risk management and patience and how to control your emotions. Those are all things that isn't talked about enough, and thankfully I like to cover that and make sure that you know specifically what I do as a good strategy. It doesn't work for everyone, but it's good to learn. All right, so that's pretty much all I got for you there. That's the general consensus. Hopefully you watched the whole video and you learned from this. If you're skipping to the end, you're doing it wrong. You're doing yourself a disservice. Never rely on other people for your success, okay? I hope that you learned something once more. Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.